Boom, what up?
Setting it up. Sweet. We are now streaming live on Facebook with Justin Colby. Thanks so much for coming here, man.
Yeah, dude. Thank you guys for being flexible. I really appreciate it. I've been slammed these past couple months.
Yes, which is a good thing. We're going to talk about all the things that you're currently working on. You've got a rare situation here where both Carlos and I are in the same room. This is actually not the norm.
Not the norm. Well, dude, I think our friendship has been getting close on a decade, somewhere in there, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. I mean,
yeah.
I
can kind of talk about our history and how we first met. So for those of you who don't know, we are joined live here with Justin Colby, the founder of the Science of Flipping Academy, among so many other different things that we're going to get into on this interview. And I first met him as a fortune builders coach. And this was back in 2011, 2012, and that was still a relatively small company. There was only a couple dozen coaches.
Yeah.
We met in Vegas, and my initial impression of Justin Colby was that he's a freaking baller because he got all the coaches into this nightclub and threw down a pretty hefty bar tab at the table. And
oh yeah,
our business partner Mike and I were like, that's what we want that.
This is who we want to host on our podcast one day to talk about scaling your business. And
yeah, no, I remember that very vividly, actually.
Yes, it was an entertaining night to say the least.
No doubt.
And we've kept in touch ever since. No longer working at Fortune Builders, but we've each kind of went on different paths in the same circle. And I've seen Justin speak on stage at events. I've seen him lead trainings across the nation, just training hundreds of investors on how to be real estate entrepreneurs, which is something that we preach a lot about on the Real Estate Time Freedom Show. We're really all about the business of real estate investing and the business of being an entrepreneur, someone that controls your destiny and, uses their business as a vehicle for personal growth. And I know you have also a podcast called The Entrepreneur's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe we're cut from the same jib, and there's going to be a lot of tangents on this interview.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. No, it's funny because I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I'm just such a big student of business, and I'm either a founder or co-owner of almost eight businesses at this very moment. And, they all have their extreme highs and their struggles and their hurdles. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people see the social media aspect of entrepreneurship and the Gary V's, of course, and the Grant Cardones. And again, Gary does a pretty good job of talking about some of the hurdles, but you got to be built a certain way to be able to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is. And I think that's something that needs to come to light. And there's so many real estate investors out there that they want the financial freedom, but then they don't want to work for it. Right. And so that's something that I really, really focus on.
What are some of the patterns that you've seen emerge from newer entrepreneurs that prevent them from getting to the next level?
I kind of just mentioned it, right? Like they think they want it, but then when the hurdles start mounting up and, they kind of like, maybe I'm just not good at this, or maybe this isn't my thing, or maybe this is too hard, and they give up. And I think that's the biggest thing is, let me phrase it this way. Like, I'm all about following your passion, but that's just only part of it. The other part is following your passion through the good times and the bad times, because there's always going to be that. And sometimes that's right at the front. Like for me, it took me 9 months to get my first deal. 9 months. I was broke. I had no other income. I mean, that's a massive hurdle. And most people probably would have quit within month 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And I didn't, because I wanted to be a big time real estate investor, doing a lot of deals, making a lot of money, creating my own life, the freedom, et cetera. And so I think it's typical in any genre, and real estate specifically. It's not easy, right? It's not, rocket science. It's not difficult. But it's hard. It's hard work, right? To get to that place where we all strive to be at financially.
What do you think that secret sauce is that entrepreneurs, what character trait do you feel that you have that allows you to just kind of surpass those moments?
Belief, blind faith is one answer. I know I am going to be successful in everything I do, right? And the next part, so blind faith is massive. Like, you need to believe it before you see it, right? Like, if you want to be a real estate investor, believe you can get your first deal done before you have a check in the bank, right? Believe you can get your first deal done before you speak to your first homeowner. So blind faith is a massive one. I think people underestimate. I think one thing people underestimate is luck. I think luck plays a major component to everyone's success. I don't care who you are. Right place, right time, right city, right genre that you're going into as a business owner, right marketing, right, like, luck plays a massive component. That you got to be on the field, right? Like, you can't receive luck if you're not in the game. You can't have a lucky catch if you're not playing the game. So, you got to put yourself in a position to receive the luck. But then lastly, I have a shoulder shrug mentality, right? Like, things aren't always going to go right. And I'm just saying, well, all right, let's fix it, right? Like, let's handle it. Like, let's not freak out. Let's not have a meltdown. Let's not quit, right? That's the number one thing that most people will do. Let's just handle it. All right, that happened. Let's face it. Let's deal with it. Let's own it. Let's look in the mirror, take responsibility, navigate onward, right? And own it and move forward. And I think that has always been something that's been innate in me, is I say, oh, fuck, that sucks. All right, well, now let's handle it, right? And I just kind of go, all right, on to keep going.
Yeah.
So
you have a pretty 21st century stoicism type framework that you're coming from, as far as you're setting out to believe something, but you're also fully expecting bad stuff to happen. And then just not, like you said, shoulder shrugging it off and keep going down the road with full belief.
Well, I think it'd be incredibly naive to think everything's just going to work out just because I want it to, right? Like, I think it doesn't matter the business, right? From your guys' business and CRM space and navigating all that, which I've never built out. I can't imagine the certain challenges that happen in one company that you were utilizing for automation, like, dies and fall, that company is no longer in existence. You're like, oh crap, well, how do we get that automation to continue? Like, not easy. Doesn't mean you failed. It's a massive challenge that you're trying to navigate. For real estate, it's the market, right? What's happening? Phoenix specifically is a very incredibly difficult market. San Diego is incredibly difficult, but by the way, they're difficult for different reasons, which I came to find out very fast. And so how do you navigate that, right? Doesn't mean, like, I went from buying, in Phoenix, San Antonio, and Dallas. This year I opened San Diego, Inland Empire, and LA now. And they're difficult for different reasons. And if you don't quickly recognize that and figure out a way to handle it, then yeah, you're going to quit. Oh, I could never invest in San Diego. Oh, I could never invest in Phoenix. Yeah, you can. You just got to navigate, right? Like, I put a post up today in this Science of Flipping Academy group, which, by the way, I encourage all of your followers to go. It's completely free. I give free coaching, free content. It literally is there to give away all of the best of what I got. The Science of Flipping Academy Facebook group. Feel free to join. It's closed, so you have to ask. But feel free to have everyone join that. Awesome. But I put a post up today about doing the right thing and doing what's right is different. The right thing means you're reading a manual and you're doing what the manual says. That's the right thing. Doing what right is, oh shit, the market's taken a curve on direct mail. It's no longer getting a 1% callback ratio. How do I now navigate that to achieve the same results? Doing what right and the right thing are totally different things. And if you don't have the ability to be flexible and adapt to those things, you will give up. You will quit. You won't, be able to last. So.
Yeah. Failure in my eyes is just stopping.
100%. That's the only way. Listen, I've lost money on flips. I've gone down a development path and lost people's money. Like, I've had a lot of failures, but it never stopped me. Like I've come across those hurdles. But the only thing that would be failure would be quitting, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Just keep overcoming challenges by using your brain, talking it out with people, and experimenting with stuff. You know, that's generally what the job of the entrepreneur is just to not stop and to keep solving problems, coming from a place of delivering value to the people that you're serving, right?
Totally. I think one thing that people underestimate is because they listen to me or yourself or Sean or Kent or Cody or so many other people out there that are trying to help people with the right information. Just because we say X, again, like in your market, X might not be the answer. And that's just the reality, right? Some market in Iowa, when I say you need to be crushing it in PPC because PPC is awesome for me in Phoenix, well, listen, there might not be enough people to actually find on PPC type marketing. So that might not be your answer. And you have to navigate around that, and you have to be creative, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be adaptive to your situation. And that's really the key of it all.
Guys, if you like this stuff, more of the mindset related philosophies that Justin has, make sure to check out his podcast. It's a newer podcast, right? You want to tell us a little bit about the Entrepreneur DNA?
Yeah, that one's new. I got really big on a kick. And honestly, it kind of just, my time is being so stretched right now. I don't have time to do everything, but I wanted more people to understand, like I have a pretty big following from the Science Flipping podcast and those people. And I've been introduced to so many incredible business owners in different spaces. Like there's a certain DNA, I call it, like that you have to be an entrepreneur, because it's not for everybody. The hard times do come a rolling, but the high times, like I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Like then there's awesome stuff that happens both personally and financially. And so, yeah, the Entrepreneur DNA is a newer podcast. There's not nearly as many episodes, but I try to bring on very, very, very successful people in a bunch of different industries to try to highlight their experiences to help you guys in whatever genre you're in. You know, all the way from billionaires like Jesse Isler, who's a friend of mine at this point. He just did his incredible run where he just went 74 miles, and you should be following Jesse Isler. He's incredible. To other individuals, right? I mean, all over the board, but yeah, that's a great space for me to be able to talk about the mindset, the fortitude, what it really takes to be an entrepreneur, because I think a lot of people want it, but they don't know what it takes, right? And they don't know the hurdles that come around. They don't know the personal, spiritual, mental game it takes to be successful in this.
That's what I love about the real estate investing niche that I got into with Dan since I graduated college. I've only been in the wholesaling space, but so many of, great people like you guys that are teaching the business say it's more so mindset. The 80-20 of it is the mindset to be able to say, and 20% of it is the mechanics. So I think with both your podcasts, you can hit the mindset and the mechanics, because I was listening to some of the Science of Flipping and even your conversation about direct mail and kind of the timeline of going through the 2009, 2010 range of wholesaling, which is like your era of starting wholesaling, where a lot of people were just buying REO properties from the bank. And you kind of talked about a progression there of where direct mail was working really well, where people thought it wasn't working, but have you stayed consistent with it? So kind of that last point of like never giving up, but adapting, that goes with marketing as well. Because I know you see this business 100% through a marketing lens.
Yeah. And there's so much, when you become adaptive, there's so many great things that come out of that, right? Because more opportunity happens because you strengthen a muscle that maybe you haven't strengthened before. Well, and then people see that you have this muscle that is like, whoa, all of a sudden, you have this ability to whatever it is, right? And more opportunity starts to show up because of that. And so it only betters you, right? And I had to make a really big decision this year about joining a startup venture capital firm that is a space that is so different from the owner operator space. I mean, it is night and day, right? But we're still buying and rehabbing and selling homes like I always did. So now I had to learn and start to develop new muscles around this because I'm playing in a different league, much different league. And so, but from that will come other opportunities in 5 years and et cetera. And so always be in a place of wanting to grow, because more opportunity will come from your growth, your, I don't want to say risks. That's not the right word I'm thinking of, but like going for it, right? Like having an opportunity, going for the opportunity, because it's working out a new muscle that'll help put you in a different place in 5 years. And so it's all good. You just have to have the right perspective on it.
Yeah. It's leaning into the thing that's slightly uncomfortable, that's kind of just out of your scope. That's how you grow, right? Forces you.
100%. Mm-hmm. Right. Because, listen, I've been flipping homes for 12 years. I started in 2007. Right. And so I get it. I know what it takes to be a, successful owner, operator, business owner, 7-man team. Well, now literally we started this company in October of last year. In March, I was the 8th person officially to join. We now have 50 full-time employees in the company 6 months later, all paid salary.
So tell us a little bit about how you're making money in real estate right now, and then we'll kind of get into the tactical stuff for those who are listening. And by the way, just feel free to ask him questions throughout. This is live, and we'll get to the questions towards the end of the interview.
Yeah, and I'm definitely interested in hearing kind of like your transition from going to Phoenix to opening up in other markets too. Like, and like everybody says, like San Diego, it's like crazy wholesale there. And I love listening to you debunk that a little bit philosophy wise on some of your content.
Interesting. So we are wholesaling and flipping. I'm a firm believer if you only have one exit strategy, you will never kill it, is the best way to say it. You'll exist and you'll do fine. And, over the years, I've had a very single, 3 years ago, we only wholesaled in Phoenix and we did well into the 7 figures, and that's fine. But really to move the needle, you need to have a diverse way of exiting these properties because it allows you to get more of them, right? So, we are now wholesaling and flipping. We did 21 here in August. 15 of them were wholesale. 6 of them were flips. And we will need to buy 250 homes between now and the end of the year in San Diego, Phoenix, Inland Empire, Los Angeles, Dallas, and we might go into like Northern California. And so you can't just be a one-trick pony. You can't just wholesale. You can't just rehab flip. Like, you need to have diversity. And so it's been quite incredible, right? Our marketing budget is north of $200,000 a month. That is a combination of pay-per-click advertising and direct mail, as well as some smaller price point things such as, text messaging follow-ups and email follow-ups, etc. And so it is a new game, man. It is really, really exciting. And I think we're in a space now that, we're going to challenge this paradigm shift. Everyone's talking about the iBuyers. We aren't that. But I think we're going to challenge them, and I think we're going to hit them head on. Right. So it'll be really fun.
Man. So there's a lot to unpack here with the $200,000 marketing budget.
Yeah.
Are you in charge of the marketing? What's your specific role in the operation?
Growth. So partner acquisitions. So the other wholesalers, other realtors, other investors, to find properties. So I work with the acquisition team. I help train the acquisition team, analyze deals, make sure that they're underwriting the deals properly. So it's growth, really. I mean, title's a little vague with managing partner acquisitions, but that's why you saw the post you saw today. Is part of that is I need to get in front of a lot of people, and that's a space I flourish. Where I need every realtor to send me their deals. I need every wholesaler to send me their deals. Like, nothing's off limits. There's a certain, criteria we don't want to buy in terms of, $1 million price point. That's not going to be our wheelhouse. But that's why, getting in front of these partners of ours it's going to change the game. It'll be great.
What's
I can't see any comments. I'm sorry, Dan. Am I supposed to see any questions, or just that's on your side?
No, it's on Facebook.
Not on Zoom. Yeah, if you have Facebook open, you might be able to see them. And Dan,
looks like your VA shared the live podcast for you.
Oh, nice. Andrea's awesome.
Yeah.
She's actually been over the last 5 years now, a personal assistant for 4. Now I put her into a marketing manager. So she's all over it. She's been a lifesaver. If you don't have your own personal assistant, that is your first thing to go get.
Where'd you get her from, or how did you get her hired?
Funny, Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Craigslist. Yeah. there are still very, very, very good people on Craigslist. And so I found her there.
Very cool. Looks like Nick Perry is on hiring a talent on autopilot expert. We'll be going to see him. Speaking of events, I'm not sure if you're going to the whole scaling one in Houston. That'd probably be a perfect event for you to be at.
I would love to. Who's putting it on?
Who is that? I know Nick is one of the speakers, Rafael Vargas. We should find a link on there for Justin. That'd be a perfect one.
Yeah,
we're talking
whole scaling live in Houston.
Cool.
Rafael Vargas. It's
yeah, maybe Charles Nguyen, one of the
Lee Kearney, Don Costa, Steve Trang, Gary Harper, all the scalers. It's a good name.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be interesting to hear your insights working at this new firm at that scale of $200,000 a month in marketing. So that's with the direct mail. That's direct to seller marketing.
Direct to seller, just like any owner operator would, right? But we have a large budget.
Yeah, and you said most of the PPC and direct mail, but then lower end stuff like text messaging and just automating some of the follow up stuff.
Correct.
Cool.
For those who are listening that might have deals to send you, what's the process for that?
The easiest way initially, I think, especially when it's kind of, we're 30,000 foot up here going live on Facebook, is hit me up on social media. I'm very responsive on social media. So find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, and just say, hey, dude, I heard you on this live. I have a property, or a couple properties, or I'd love to add you to my buyers list. And then I'll respond to you about, how to get a hold of me or what direction we should go. Because they'll probably just emailing me, it'll get lost. I think it just hit me up on social media and then I'll be able to navigate from there. That's the best. The Justin Colby is my Instagram handle and the Justin Colby is my Facebook. I can't add any more friends on my personal. My personal has 5,000 friends. So find the Justin Colby on Instagram and Facebook. That'd be easiest.
Beautiful. All right. We'll post that up in the comments.
Yep.
Sell Justin your deals.
100%.
So let's speak to the bulk of the audience who are smaller mom and pop wholesalers that want to turn this from a transaction business where they're just doing some deals and turning it into an actual business, a house flipping business rather than just flipping a house every now and then. And actually, there's a question here that Fred asked that might be a good starting off point.
Okay.
Which is, at what point do you bring on a VA or someone to help? And what's the order of jobs to outsource? So kind of paint the picture of how you scale a real estate investment company.
Yeah. So the first thing, and I just said, is like, get your personal assistant in line first. Let me take one step back. I think people try to listen to myself or any of those names you just mentioned about scaling, and they try to go higher before they're ready. The reality is, if you don't put $250,000 personally in your pocket, you are not ready to scale and hire. You are just being lazy, in my opinion, because you just don't want to do the work. That's what it comes down to. And, you want to have a lifestyle that you don't necessarily earn yet. And so I would say the first thing is you need to make sure you're making money first. Like 250 grand is probably the number I put on it. Then the first hire becomes your personal assistant that can be a catch-all for everything. The person who builds your email campaigns, the person that sets up your direct mail campaigns, the person who does everything, right? Could be your transactional coordinator or your personal assistant. That'd be my first hire. The last hire I tend to make is an acquisition person, because they're the ones that create all your income. And that should be on your plate as long as it can be. And so, that's my initial instance. People talk about lead managers and acquisition managers. If you wanted to hire a lead manager, you could just simply have someone, your personal assistant also could be doing that. I built my business where I don't use lead managers, like I never did. I don't find the value. I think, people argue speed. I would say it is just as quick for my acquisition manager to get back to that person that leaves a voicemail as it is for the lead manager to take in the lead, put it into the CRM, then tag the acquisition manager, and then the acquisition manager goes back, or my acquisition manager that listens to the voicemail calls them back. So that would be where I would start with that.
That's interesting. That's kind of different than the normal approach that we may hear if there's other Facebook Lives going on or podcasts. I feel like people are kind of going against that grain, but your admin or your assistant almost sounds like a COO in training if they're handling some of those marketing responsibilities too, or like I don't know, it's like a lead manager for getting more responsibility if they're handling the marketing and doing the email content campaign stuff as well.
No, I mean, if anything, they're like a CMO, chief marketing officer, but like, I'm just talking about some of the stuff that just takes time, but doesn't create revenue. Like to build an email template might take 15, 20 minutes, but it didn't create you any revenue necessarily. So that person should handle that. Andrea would cut checks for me, pay bills for me on our flips, make sure the electricity went on for our flips, made sure the electricity went off for our flips. Like that's all just time suck, but it doesn't create me revenue. Being the acquisition person, being the disposition person, if you're a wholesaler, that creates revenue. That's what you need to keep on. Like hiring that out immediately because you want to go scale, you're not going to be nearly as effective, right?
I love that. So we are known for one of our PDFs that's called the Real Estate Investor 80/20 Task Cheat Sheet, which basically breaks down what your time is worth and which activities have a higher dollar per hour rate than others. I'm going to post a link to this chart. You should print it out. You should put it up on your wall, because maintaining an awareness about what is actually bringing in revenue versus not is how you figure out what you're good at and how to, effectively outsource stuff.
Totally.
Stuff like negotiating major deals, hiring team members, designing systems, educating yourself. These are all higher dollar per hour activities that generally make you money, instead of database management and sending contracts and managing PPC campaigns, et cetera. I have a full chart from $5 to $10 per hour activities all the way up to $10,000 per hour activities, which some could argue as a reality when you're focusing on the right actions, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So, and then guys, just to give you a heads up, I'm heading out in about 10 minutes. I got about 10 minutes left.
Cool. Guys, ask your questions. You have one of the greats on here, so make sure to try to stump them with any questions you have about scaling your REI business. Let's get right to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Question that was asked in our member community group today, and I'm gonna just throw this out there and let you run with it. He asked, "What's the most effective way of marketing right now? Direct mail, cold calls, something else?"
I think all of them are taking a beating right this moment, as we do all of them. I use 7, right? I think that it depends on your marketing budget. So the answer is not terribly easy because none of them are like the best, right? I think voicemail drops has done very well. Right now, text messaging has been awesome, especially if you have a funnel of leads that are already in your database, like thousands of leads I have in my database. I got this text messaging campaign. It is awesome, crushing it. I think texting is phenomenal. So that's kind of the newest. I'm sorry?
What are you using to manage the texting?
Launchcontrol.us.
Interesting. Okay. We know.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. The guy who built it is a real estate investor. He came out of our mastermind, our high-end mastermind. So he built it specifically for this world. It has no other use than real estate investing. It's connected to like a lightweight CRM, so that once the lead becomes live, you can put it in your own CRM, just like yours, right? But it's not meant to be a CRM in that sense. So it's phenomenal. Now that's the newest thing, but like direct mail still works. I hate to break it to everybody. It just still works. Like I know it's not to where it used to be, but it still works. PPC still works. You just have to have a budget for it. I love cold calling. I grew up on cold calling. That was how I got into the industry. I still do it. Like cold calling, all of these work, right? And that's why I say like, there's no one trick pony, and it depends on your budget. If you have a smaller budget, I'm definitely sticking to cold calling, door knocking, and text messaging. You can do all 3 of those for like $800 a month total, right? Yeah. So like that's where I would be going. Door knocking, by the way, it only still works. You just have to actually go get your lazy ass out of the house and go do it. And that's just the reality. And so, there's no one trick pony, or there's not a trick to it. It's being consistent at it, it's doing it. regardless of your marketing budget. So I love them all. I use certain companies, and I'm happy to, follow up and give you all the companies I use for all the systems, the PPC companies and the text message I just met, my direct mail house, all that kind of stuff. I'm more than happy to give away the companies.
Yeah. After the interview, if you could just leave a comment with all that, that's going to be on the recording forever. And that would be super helpful.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Done deal.
Cool. Appreciate that. So the answer kind of is there isn't a magic bullet with marketing right now. You have to sort of test different campaigns. Maybe if you have a lower budget, do what you just said with the cold calling, text messaging, door knocking, because it's the cheapest. When you make that first deal, what's the first thing that you're going to enhance or magnify or add to the marketing mix?
I think it's something about putting money back in your marketing budget more than adding. I think, right, like if you were doing cold calling, could you budget an extra cold caller to make more cold calls rather than opening up a different marketing strategy? Or if you're doing RVMs, ringless voicemails, voicemail drops, could you double down and do more? Do you have the resources? Could you take that many leads in? Could you do more, put 20% more into your direct mail budget? So I don't know if I'd open up, I think you need to have a minimum of 3 marketing strategies, minimum. That is for sure what I will tell you. So look at your budget. And if it's small, then do cold calling, direct or door knocking, and text messaging. If it's a little larger, 100% go with direct mail. I love direct mail. So yeah, I would reinvest in what you're already doing more than trying to scale out wide.
On the subject of direct mail, I know that there's a newer technology that investors are starting to use to get more out of their direct mail lists. It's a technology called geofencing.
Yeah, of course.
Talk a little bit about that, because I know you're working with Chris right now, who is one of my good friends that we kind of came up in this business together here in Baltimore.
Awesome.
And people don't know about it yet. And I think those who are listening that are going to learn about geofencing right now are going to have a leg up on everybody else. Yeah. And then I want to talk briefly just about how you compete with iBuyers, and then we'll let you go.
So geofencing is fantastic, right? So think about the idea of you can follow anyone who goes into a title company, escrow company, hard money lender, you name it. Where do people go that need to sell their real estate? You could do it in neighborhoods. You could do it at houses. You can just fence a liquor store in a corner that you like that neighborhood for flipping homes, and everyone that goes in and out of that liquor store, it pings their phone, and now you're seeing your ad. I'll buy your house now, cash for fast, on their phone. It's going to be a massive, massive game changer. So that is going to be really, really cool.
So we're talking about digital fences that you can set specific areas that retarget specific ads to their phone and their browser and their apps and stuff.
Yep. It's going to be a massive, massive game changer. And then there's a whole ability to do that with lists, your direct mail list. You can do the very same thing, which is awesome, right? The houses that you're in a direct mail will make sure it gets pinged on their phone, right? Why wouldn't you? You're going to send direct mail. So that is a massive game changer for sure. And Chris has done a great job with this whole thing. So it's been really impressive.
Make sure to follow Justin's group, The Science of Flipping Academy, on there, because you're going to start talking about that system soon and within the next couple of weeks, right? Yep.
And Chris is actually someone who's pretty active in that group. So I want that group to be active, but yeah, I'll be talking a lot about it here very soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. What was the second question?
So the iBuyers.
Compete with iBuyers.
Why are people scared of them, and why shouldn't they be scared of them?
I don't think they don't know real estate, right? They're kind of what's the best way? Look at it as look at it as a big spreadsheet, and they just look at addresses and numbers, and then they say go, right? It's not the same. There's no personal touch necessarily. Now, iBuyers tend to work through realtors more often than not, right? And so homeowners tend to have realtors that represent the iBuyer is currently how it is working, and stuff is shifting as we're probably talking right now. But you shouldn't necessarily be scared of them, as they're not going to go out and spend it, a bunch of direct mail. They're not going to have cold callers going. Could that happen? Potentially. But they're really leveraging the real estate professionals, the agents, heavily right now. So listen, I'm in Phoenix, and that is the hardest hit market for all of the iBuyers. Opendoor, OfferPad, Zillow, and Redfin, right? And I'm still getting deals. So just understand, like, at one point, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the hedge funds, right, Blackstone and all their different entities hit Phoenix, and I'm still here, right? And so I think it's just something, it kind of goes back to what I started, like, be adaptive. If you realize that they're using realtors to find their deals, and they're banging the MLS and they're making offers, and realtors are representing them as a buyer, then figure out a way that you can beat that realtor to the punch. How can you present more value? How can you help the homeowner have more value selling their home to you than to the iBuyer? What value do you get? Like, I'll be honest, I'm beating out these iBuyers pretty consistently because there's no value. There's no personal touch. There's no personal touch or value, right? There's a disconnect between the whole thing. It's just heartless. It's cold, right? Put some feeling, put some heart into it, put an ability to, like, create value for the homeowner, and you're going to win, right? Because you're just the better option at the end of the day.
Love that. Getting creative, likable by adding, unique value to the seller, whether it's iBuyer or any other wholesaler. That's a discussion that comes up all the time. Like, even like a PPC web form, like, how many average forms is a seller filling out if they're going online to fill out their house? So you're probably going to have at least like 4 or 5 other people that are making offers if you're talking to that seller. So, like, 100%. Whether it's iBuyers or the wholesalers or whoever, that's an amazing skill to harness.
At this moment, they're not doing direct mail. They're not doing cold calling. They're not text. Like what we just talked about for the last 30 minutes, do that, right? Because they aren't. That's how you beat them. Do what they're not doing, right? Yes, they're doing PPC. Yes, they have commercials. Yes, they have radio. Cool. That's all very expensive. So do what they're not doing. Door knock, right? Because they're not gonna. So, it's a really hot subject. I could go on and on and on about it, but, like, do what they're not doing. Adapt to the circumstances, right, in your market. Phoenix is the hardest hit at this moment in time, but there's others that they're in, Vegas, Atlanta, etc. So you just got to navigate it, right? Be adaptable.
Yep. Be adaptive. Your biggest competitive advantage is you.
That's
Don't
right.
worry about all these other people. Just lean into your strengths, lean into the personal touch that you can provide to potential sellers and prospects, and you're going to be able to get deals. There's an abundance of opportunity still in the market. And on that note, we live in an incredible time where information like this is readily available that can teach you how to make millions of dollars on your own terms, in your own house, wherever you want to live, anywhere in the world. And people are still struggling. Justin, give us your final piece of recommendation to help people just overcome that resistance in such a time of abundance.
I think it kind of goes back to what I was just talking about. I mean, it's just not as easy as people want to make it seem on social media and everywhere else, right? And you have to do the work, right? Like I have a personal client. I coach people one-on-one. I select a handful every year, and he works full-time and he wants to build a rental portfolio. So he needed to understand marketing, how to follow up, how to really build a smaller business, because he didn't want to quit full-time. But by the way, he only gets home at 5:30 at night and works till 9:30. That is someone I want to work with as a personal one-on-one coach that I know will be successful because he will put it in. He'll put in the work. So for those out there that are like, oh, I have kids and family, I respect all of it. If you want something you don't currently have, you're going to have to do something you're not currently doing. And that's going to be the sacrifice. No TV, no movies, it's work. And I wish I had a better answer for that question. It's a great question. And just, that's what's happening, is they don't want to put in the effort, energy, and sacrifice it takes.
Is having a mentor sort of the shortcut?
Oh, 100%. And that, I still to this very moment have mentors that some I pay, some I don't, but like 100%, you need to have people who have gone through it before, that have been around longer, and have had more success. If you're going to hire a mentor that has been in the business for a year or two or three or four and just quickly made a lot of money, I just don't necessarily believe in it, because they haven't come across the hurdles that someone who's been in longer than you have. But yes, you need a mentor. I would argue you also need some sort of group, a mastermind, a meetup group, something that you can have more than one brain. I think that's really important as well.
Do you recommend people have a business partner as well? Someone to kind of...
I could go off on that. I don't believe that you should.
Okay.
I think that goes back to laziness. You don't want to do your weakness. Like my weakness is the operating component, the spreadsheets and organization and systemization. That's my weakness. So it'd be easy for me to go get a business partner to just fulfill that. But now you're giving away half of your profit. Get out of here. You can go hire one for $60,000 a year. So I don't believe in business partnerships. I'm saying that very blanket.
Starting the real estate. Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Some interesting.
Right, dude, I gotta roll.
Yes.
I'm running out here.
Dude, we appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
This live video will be up forever. So definitely just put some links, throw some links on there, and make sure, guys, to hit up Justin if you have any deals to sell. He is buying.
I sure am buying.
Well, dude, you're a legend. I really appreciate your time and making this happen. Carlos, do you have any final sign off?
No, man, that was awesome. Appreciate your time. I'll hit you up separately to get the texting software, all that stuff, and we'll definitely funnel some people that have questions into that Facebook group too, man. But appreciate your time and philosophy and helping everybody out today.
All right, guys. I appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me and talking to your tribe.
Yes, sir.
See you, dude.
Later.